If something can go wrong tonight, it already has. The fluorescent lights of Mercy General flickered above Emily Carter as she adjusted her scrub top, the soft hum of machines and distant echo of hurried footsteps filling the emergency ward. Her hands trembled as she balanced the medical chart of a 5-year-old boy seizing on the gurney, his tiny body rigid and unresponsive. She whispered to herself, "Just breathe. You know what to do." The boy's pale skin glistened under the harsh lights, a sheen of sweat mixing with the cool sterility of the room. Every second stretched painfully, each monitor beeped like a drumbeat pounding inside her skull. Her pulse raced, the scent of antiseptic sharp in her nose, while she scanned the medications and equipment with practiced precision. She checked the 4-line, confirming it was flowing properly, her eyes flicking to the boy's face, noting the subtle twitch in his lips and the uneven rise of his chest. This wasn't just another patient, this was a life balancing on a knife edge. Emily's voice was steady but quiet as she instructed the other nurses, coordinating movement without panic, her heart hammering with every misstep the boy made. Outside the ER doors, a shadow moved with a presence that immediately demanded attention. Derek Malone entered, tall, broad-shouldered, his black suit impeccable, aura of control radiating like the low hum of electricity. He surveyed the room with icy, calculating eyes, taking in the chaos without a word, each step deliberate, silent authority dripping from his posture. Emily noticed him but didn't falter, her mind focused on the child, hands steady as she administered oxygen, adjusted the 4-drip, and carefully monitored the heart rate. Derek's gaze lingered on her, measuring, assessing, a storm contained in the calm of his expression. The boy convulsed violently, and Emily's reflexes took over. She leaned close, checking the airway, whispering soothing words, coordinating with the team, timing her movements with exacting precision. Derek's hand hovered near the console, ready to intervene, but he stayed back, letting her skill dictate the rhythm, his jaw tight with quiet intrigue. The tension between them was palpable, an unspoken acknowledgment of power and capability as Emily worked against the clock, each breath a silent promise, each motion a testament to her determination. Minutes felt like hours, sweat beading on her forehead, her pulse syncing with the alarms as she stabilized the boy, his breathing easing, color returning to his cheeks, and she finally allowed herself a brief exhale. Derek approached then, footsteps slow, measured, and when he spoke, his voice cut through the sterile air with a calm authority that made Emily's chest tighten. "You have a gift," he said, eyes locking with hers, reading the exhaustion, the focus, the courage. She swallowed hard, steadying herself against the flood of emotion she refused to let show, meeting his gaze evenly, acknowledging the silent recognition of her skill, the unspoken challenge, and the beginning of a connection that neither had anticipated yet both would feel the weight of in the nights to come. Emily Carter wiped her hands on a clean towel, the soft hum of monitors still echoing in the emergency ward as she prepared the next set of charts for review. The fluorescent lights flickered briefly, casting sharp reflections across the polished linoleum floors. She glanced up and saw Derek Malone standing near the entrance, his tall frame rigid, the aura of authority unshaken even in the chaos of the hospital corridor. He had not moved closer yet, but every instinct in her body told her he was aware of her every motion. Emily exhaled quietly, centering herself, adjusting the strap of her medical bag over her shoulder. She moved with deliberate steps toward the supply closet, gathering medications and bandages for the next round of patients. Derek followed, silently, his gaze calculating, as if measuring the weight of each choice she made. The tension in the air was tangible, not in fear, but in recognition of competence, a silent acknowledgement that she knew exactly what she was doing. The next patient was being wheeled in, a toddler with a high fever, delicate and fragile under the harsh hospital lighting. Emily positioned herself near the bed, scanning the monitors, noting subtle variations in heart rate and oxygen levels. Derek stepped closer now, his presence commanding without a single word, observing the room like a hawk surveying territory. Emily did not flinch, instead, she adjusted the oxygen mask on the child, speaking softly to calm the trembling little body. Derek's dark eyes followed every motion, noting the precision and care, and Emily felt a ripple of awareness pass through her, a silent acknowledgement that her actions mattered, that she was being seen, truly seen, in the midst of responsibility. The child's breathing stabilized slightly, and she allowed herself a brief nod of relief, meeting Derek's eyes for the first time since he had entered the ward. He raised an eyebrow, a subtle motion, almost imperceptible, yet it carried the weight of approval, a recognition that she was capable and decisive. The room quieted, and the usual sounds of urgency seemed to fade around them. Emily's pulse slowed fractionally, but she remained focused, hands steady, mind alert, ready for the next challenge. Derek's presence was constant, unwavering, but there was no interference, only observation, and in that space of silent proximity, an unspoken understanding began to form. He respected her skill, her courage, her dedication, and she recognized the same intensity in his attention. Every movement, every decision mattered, and the weight of responsibility shared in that room forged a connection neither had yet voiced. The monitors beeped steadily, the only soundtrack to their mutual awareness, and Emily continued her work, adjusting IVs, monitoring vitals, and reassuring the child with quiet words, each action deliberate, measured, and compassionate. Derek remained a silent sentinel nearby, his presence formidable, yet restrained, letting her lead, observing the subtle dance of competence and trust unfolding in real time. In those minutes that stretched and expanded like hours, the air between them was charged with acknowledgment, a recognition of skill, courage, and quiet authority, forming a bond that neither had anticipated but both felt deeply, the kind of bond forged in the calm eye of a storm, amidst beeping monitors, fluorescent lights, and the fragile rhythm of life. Emily Carter wiped her palms on her scrub sleeves, the subtle scent of antiseptic lingering as the toddler's vitals stabilized. Derek Malone remained nearby, his tall frame rigid, the light from the ceiling panels casting sharp angles across his face, highlighting the intensity in his piercing blue eyes. He did not speak, yet his presence filled the room with a quiet command that demanded attention. Emily moved methodically, checking the boy's oxygen saturation and adjusting the flow with gentle precision, her mind calculating every move, anticipating the next required intervention. She felt the weight of the responsibility settle on her shoulders, yet it did not intimidate her. It sharpened her focus, made her acutely aware of every heartbeat, every slight movement, every shallow breath of the child under her care. Derek's gaze did not waver, following her motions with a measured scrutiny that made her pulse quicken slightly, not from fear, but from the recognition that her actions mattered to someone accustomed to power and influence. She reached for the thermometer, measuring the child's temperature, eyes flicking to the monitors as she recorded the readings, noting the subtle shifts that indicated progress. Derek stepped closer, the soft click of his polished shoes echoing in the otherwise quiet room, and Emily met his gaze briefly, sensing the respect in his silence. He nodded almost imperceptibly, a signal that he acknowledged her skill and resolve, though he offered no praise aloud. Emily's hands worked with calm efficiency, her movements deliberate, each adjustment precise, her voice low as she reassured the child softly, creating a small bubble of comfort in the clinical environment. Derek observed from the side, hands clasped behind his back, the control he exuded palpable, yet restrained, allowing her leadership to guide the moment. Emily adjusted the child's blanket, smoothing the folds, and checked the foreline once more, confirming that the fluid was running steadily. The beeping of the monitors was rhythmic now, a subtle confirmation that her interventions were effective. Derek's eyes met hers again, and in that moment, a silent understanding passed between them. It was not spoken, but it was clear that he trusted her judgment, valued her courage, and recognized her unwavering focus under pressure. The atmosphere was thick with tension that had transformed into mutual respect, a quiet bond forged in the crucible of responsibility and urgency. Emily's heartbeat synchronized with the gentle rise and fall of the child's chest, each inhalation and exhalation a testament to her dedication, her calm under pressure, and the quiet intensity that filled the space between her and Derek. She straightened slightly, taking a breath, and noticed the faint crease of thought on Derek's forehead, the way his eyes followed her with careful attentiveness, silently acknowledging the balance of power, skill, and human empathy in the room. The child's fingers twitched slightly, and Emily whispered encouraging words, her tone steady and soothing, guiding the small body through recovery. Derek remained an unwavering presence, a silent sentinel whose attention never wavered, creating a charged space of trust and accountability, where every decision mattered and every gesture carried significance. In that shared silence, punctuated only by the soft hum of machines and the subtle rustle of clothing as Emily moved, a connection had formed, unspoken yet profound, between two people whose worlds were vastly different yet perfectly aligned in that precise, fragile moment. Emily Carter adjusted the child's blankets one more time, her fingers brushing over the soft fabric with careful precision, and Derek Malone remained just steps away, observing her every movement with the intensity of someone unaccustomed to being impressed yet undeniably intrigued. The fluorescent lights above flickered briefly, casting sharp reflections across the polished floor, highlighting the calm determination on Emily's face. She leaned closer to the monitors, checking the oxygen saturation and pulse, her eyes scanning the readings with meticulous focus, adjusting the flow of fluids and medications with delicate, deliberate movements. Derek's gaze followed every motion, taking in the calculated confidence and quiet strength she exuded, noting the subtle way she balanced urgency with care. He shifted slightly, his polished shoes echoing softly on the linoleum, but he did not speak, allowing her to lead while maintaining a presence that filled the room with unspoken authority. Emily whispered reassurances to the child, her voice soft yet steady, the gentle words cutting through the clinical sounds around them, creating a bubble of safety in the tense environment. Derek watched, noting how she anticipated every need before it arose, how she adjusted the medical equipment without hesitation, and how her calm assurance seemed to radiate outward, influencing the tempo of the entire ward. She moved from the monitors to the bedside, checking the child's temperature and adjusting the bedding, all while maintaining eye contact with him, communicating comfort through subtle gestures and steady hands. Derek's eyes lingered on her, recognizing the expertise and compassion that demanded respect, a quiet admiration forming beneath his composed exterior. Emily did not break focus, but she felt the weight of his observation, a tension that was not oppressive, but motivating, sharpening her awareness and heightening her attention to every detail. The child's tiny fingers twitched slightly, and she murmured words of encouragement, noting each rise and fall of his chest with precision, while Derek remained silently vigilant, a sentinel whose presence underscored the gravity of the moment without diminishing her authority. Emily adjusted the four-line, ensured that all monitors were functioning correctly, and repositioned the blanket, each action deliberate and precise, and Derek noted the seamless coordination of thought and movement, impressed by the efficiency and dedication that defined her work. The room was charged with a quiet intensity, the mutual respect forming a subtle but palpable connection, a shared acknowledgment of responsibility and capability. Emily continued to guide the child through the recovery process, her focus unwavering, her movements confident and assured, while Derek's presence remained steady, a silent partner in observation, reinforcing a sense of security and authority that enveloped the space. In the interplay of quiet competence and watchful presence, a bond formed that neither required words nor overt acknowledgement, a connection forged in the steady rhythm of care, observation, and mutual recognition, leaving both acutely aware of the shared understanding that had taken root in the sterile, softly lit ward. Emily Carter felt a wave of exhaustion wash over her as she straightened up from the bedside, the fluorescent lights casting a sterile glow across the polished floor and highlighting the subtle tension in Derek Malone's expression. He stood a few feet away, still observing, the calculated calm in his posture belying the intensity of his attention. She adjusted the oxygen mask on the toddler once more, noting the steady rhythm returning to the small chest, and allowed herself a quiet exhale. Derek took a slow step forward, his polished shoes clicking softly against the linoleum, and Emily met his gaze briefly, noticing a flicker of something unreadable in his eyes, a blend of approval and intrigue. She gathered the medical charts from the side table, flipping through the pages with deliberate care, recording vitals and observations, each motion precise, each word calculated to ensure clarity and accuracy. Derek's eyes followed every movement, not imposing, but present, a silent measure of her skill and dedication. Emily walked toward the supply closet, collecting medications and necessary tools for the next patient, her mind already planning the sequence of care, and Derek mirrored her steps without speaking, maintaining a presence that was simultaneously commanding and unobtrusive. She checked the child's four-line, adjusting the flow slightly, and whispered calming words, each syllable measured, a soft melody amidst the ambient hum of the ward. Derek's gaze lingered on her hands, noting the steadiness, the confidence, the way she combined technical knowledge with a gentle presence that reassured both child and staff. Emily straightened, brushing stray strands of hair from her face, and Derek inclined his head subtly, a quiet acknowledgement of the precision and care she displayed. The monitors beeped steadily, a rhythmic soundtrack to their shared awareness, and Emily adjusted the child's blanket once more, smoothing the folds with meticulous attention. Derek remained still, observing, a sentinel in the background, yet the energy between them shifted imperceptibly, a silent recognition forming in the charged atmosphere. Emily moved to the nurse's station, updating logs and coordinating with the team, her voice calm, clear, and precise, each instruction delivered with authority grounded in expertise. Derek's presence was constant, a quiet gravity that seemed to draw the tension from the room into a focused intensity, allowing Emily to operate at the peak of her skill without distraction. She paused briefly, scanning the monitors again, noting the subtle improvement in the child's condition, and felt a small surge of relief, tempered by the awareness that vigilance was still required. Derek stepped slightly closer, the faint scent of his cologne mixing with the antiseptic air, and Emily's gaze met his once more, a silent exchange of respect and recognition passing between them. In that moment, amidst the soft beeps, the flickering lights, and the quiet efficiency of the ward, a bond began to solidify, unspoken but undeniable, grounded in shared focus, skill, and the fragile responsibility of life itself. Emily Carter took a deep breath as she moved to the bedside once more, the toddler now calmer, his chest rising and falling with a steadier rhythm under the soft glow of the overhead lights. Derek Malone remained close, his tall figure imposing yet restrained, standing with hands clasped behind his back, observing each of her movements with unwavering focus. She adjusted the oxygen tubing carefully, ensuring the connection was secure and that the flow was consistent, her hands steady, precise, almost rhythmic in their motions. Derek's eyes followed her attentively, noting the care, the timing, the confidence that radiated from her every action. Emily whispered softly to the child, her tone gentle and measured, creating a sense of calm in the otherwise clinical environment, the steady cadence of her voice working in tandem with the monitors beeping. She checked the 4-line once more, ensuring there were no kinks or blockages, then straightened slightly, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face, her focus unbroken. Derek took a subtle step closer, his presence palpable yet unobtrusive, a silent acknowledgment that he respected her authority and skill in handling the delicate situation. Emily moved to the side table to adjust the charts, recording the vitals and the subtle improvements she had observed, her handwriting neat and deliberate, each entry a precise reflection of the child's condition. Derek's attention never wavered, his gaze scanning the room, assessing not only her actions but the entire environment, yet allowing her to lead without interference. She returned to the child, placing a gentle hand on his arm, offering reassurance with the soft words she murmured, her voice steady and confident, each syllable designed to soothe. The monitor's beeping became a steady rhythm, a background to the quiet, intense focus of their shared attention. Emily noticed Derek's gaze meet hers briefly, the weight of his quiet approval settling across the space between them, a connection forming in the silent acknowledgment of competence and dedication. She adjusted the blanket carefully, tucking it around the child to ensure comfort without disturbing the 4 lines, and Derek stepped slightly to the side, maintaining a protective presence, his posture a silent support that reinforced the safety of the environment. Emily's hands moved with precision, adjusting equipment, checking readings, whispering soft encouragement, her movements deliberate, controlled, and efficient. Derek's eyes followed, noting every nuance, every micro-adjustment, the way she anticipated needs before they arose, a blend of skill and intuition that commanded both respect and quiet admiration. The room was charged with a concentrated energy, the shared responsibility and the acute awareness of every action creating a bond that did not require words, a mutual recognition of focus, dedication, and unspoken trust. Emily continued her work, each motion precise, each word carefully measured, the steady, calm presence of Derek reinforcing the environment, allowing her to operate with confidence, precision, and the full attention needed to guide the child safely through the recovery process. In that quiet, controlled space, amidst the monitors and the faint hum of activity beyond the doors, a profound, silent connection took shape, grounded in expertise, vigilance, and the unspoken acknowledgement of shared responsibility and care. Emily Carter's focus was absolute, her hands steady as she prepared the next set of interventions for the child, carefully checking the infusion lines and monitoring the subtle changes in vital signs. Derek Malone stood nearby, his presence constant, exuding authority without a word, observing her with an intensity that was impossible to ignore. The fluorescent lights flickered softly above, illuminating the faint beads of sweat on Emily's forehead as she leaned over the child, whispering calming words and adjusting blankets and oxygen tubes with meticulous precision. She moved with deliberate grace, anticipating each need, her mind mapping the sequence of actions to maintain stability and comfort. Derek's eyes followed her movements closely, taking note of the confidence, skill, and compassion she demonstrated in handling a delicate situation with unwavering calm. Emily adjusted the child's heart monitor leads, ensuring each connection was secure, then glanced at the readings, confirming the gradual return to a steady rhythm. Derek took a subtle step closer, his polished shoes echoing softly on the linoleum, yet he did not interfere, allowing her to lead while he provided silent support. Emily's voice remained low, even, and soothing as she guided the child through each small adjustment, the words flowing like a gentle rhythm that seemed to calm both the room and the fragile patient. Derek's gaze softened slightly as he observed, recognizing not only her competence but the care and empathy that informed every decision she made. She repositioned the child with gentle hands, checked the flow again, and whispered reassurance, her focus unwavering. Derek remained a presence of strength, his eyes never leaving her actions, acknowledging the quiet power and determination she exuded without needing to verbalize it. Emily moved to record the updated vitals on the chart, her movements precise and efficient, each note a careful reflection of the child's improving condition. Derek's posture was relaxed yet commanding, his attention lending a sense of security to the environment that allowed her to operate with clarity and confidence. The monitors continued their steady beeping, a rhythmic backdrop to the subtle dialogue of glances, nods, and measured movements that passed between them, forming an unspoken understanding and trust. Emily adjusted the blankets once more, smoothing the folds and ensuring the child's comfort, her hands steady, careful, deliberate. Derek's eyes met hers briefly, and in that moment, a silent acknowledgment passed between them, recognition of skill, shared responsibility, and mutual respect. The room held a quiet energy, concentrated and intense, the shared focus on the child creating a connection grounded in vigilance, empathy, and competence. Emily's continued care, precise and deliberate, and Derek's unwavering presence together formed a rhythm, a subtle harmony of action and observation that created not only safety but a profound sense of partnership in the fragile, critical moments that defined the night. Every breath, every adjustment, every soft word contributed to the bond forming between them, a trust built in the quiet, methodical care of life itself. Emily Carter leaned back slightly, allowing herself a brief moment to breathe as the monitors displayed the steady rhythm of the child's recovery, and Derek Malone took a slow step closer, his gaze fixed intently on her, a silent acknowledgement passing between them that conveyed far more than words could capture. The fluorescent lights above continued their steady hum, casting a cool glow over the room, reflecting off the polished linoleum, and illuminating the quiet determination etched across Emily's face. She adjusted the child's blanket one last time, smoothing the folds with meticulous care, and whispered reassurances in a soft, steady tone that carried a sense of calm through the room. Derek's eyes remained fixed on her, noting every motion, every subtle adjustment, recognizing the precision, skill, and empathy she demonstrated with unwavering focus. Emily moved to update the charts, her handwriting deliberate, precise, capturing each vital sign, each small improvement, each subtle change in condition, while Derek stood nearby, his presence steady, commanding yet unobtrusive, a silent sentinel providing a sense of security and focus that seemed to infuse the space. She glanced up briefly, catching his eyes, and for a fleeting moment, the intensity of his attention softened, revealing a quiet admiration beneath the surface control he maintained. Emily adjusted the four-line, checked the oxygen flow, and repositioned the child's arm gently, each action deliberate, controlled, and measured to ensure comfort and stability. Derek's posture shifted slightly, a subtle sign of recognition for the care and skill she exhibited, his silent approval a presence that resonated more strongly than words ever could. Emily's voice remained calm and soothing as she spoke to the child, reinforcing a sense of safety and reassurance, while Derek observed the interaction, noting the careful balance between technical expertise and human empathy she maintained. She straightened, brushing a stray lock of hair from her forehead, and Derek inclined his head subtly, a wordless acknowledgement of the quiet strength and capability she displayed. The room was charged with a concentrated, attentive energy, a rhythm formed by the precision of Emily's actions and the quiet vigilance of Derek's presence. Every motion, every glance, every soft word contributed to a shared understanding, a silent recognition of competence, responsibility, and dedication. Emily moved once more to the monitors, verifying the stability of vital signs, making slight adjustments with careful hands, and Derek's eyes followed, the silent exchange of trust and acknowledgement deepening. In the quiet hum of the hospital, amidst the soft beeping of machines and the sterile glow of the overhead lights, a bond had solidified, unspoken yet undeniable, rooted in shared vigilance, mutual respect, and the profound recognition of each other's strength, skill, and humanity. Emily's continued focus and Derek's steady presence created a harmonious rhythm, a sense of partnership in the delicate balance of care, observation, and unwavering attention that defined the night, leaving both acutely aware of the unspoken connection that had taken root in that fragile, intensely focused moment. Emily Carter finally allowed herself to step back, her hands lowering to her sides as the monitors confirmed the child's stable condition, and Derek Malone closed the small distance between them, his gaze fixed on her with an intensity that was both commanding and quietly reverent. The fluorescent lights above cast a soft, steady glow over the room, illuminating the subtle relief on Emily's face, and the careful tension in Derek's posture as he regarded her. She exhaled, her shoulders relaxing slightly, though her focus remained sharp, scanning the monitors one last time, checking oxygen levels, heart rate, and temperature, ensuring that every vital sign indicated stability. Derek's presence was near yet unobtrusive, the silent authority in the room emphasizing the gravity of the responsibility they had shared through the night. Emily moved to the side table, gathering the charts and wiping the surface clean of small spills and scattered papers, her movements precise, deliberate, and controlled. Derek stepped closer, his polished shoes clicking lightly on the linoleum, and she met his gaze, feeling the unspoken acknowledgment of skill, dedication, and the unwavering calm that had guided her every action. She adjusted the child's blanket once more, smoothing it with careful fingers, and whispered soft, reassuring words, a gentle rhythm that seemed to permeate the space, infusing it with quiet calm. Derek nodded subtly, his eyes narrowing slightly as he took in the details, the attention to precision, the balance of empathy and technical expertise, and the quiet courage that had defined her care. Emily straightened, brushing a stray strand of hair from her forehead, and for a moment, their eyes held, a silent connection passing between them, profound yet wordless, a bond forged through shared vigilance and attentive focus. The monitors continued their steady beeping, a rhythmic confirmation of the child's recovery, each tone echoing the unspoken trust and respect that had built between them. Emily moved to the door, pausing to ensure that the pathway was clear, her mind still alert, aware of the smallest detail, while Derek followed, his presence steady, offering protection without intrusion, reinforcing the sense of security in the room. She glanced back at the child, a faint smile of relief and satisfaction crossing her features, and Derek's gaze softened imperceptibly, acknowledging the courage, precision, and human empathy that had guided her through the delicate moments of care. The quiet energy in the room, the rhythm of monitors, the faint hum of distant hospital activity, and the careful interplay of observation and action created a shared understanding, a silent communication that neither required words. Emily exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of the night lift just slightly, and Derek's eyes remained on her, conveying a respect and recognition that spoke volumes about the partnership forged through crisis, focus, and compassion. In that moment, amidst the soft light and steady rhythm of recovery, a deep, unspoken bond settled between them, an acknowledgment of strength, skill, and mutual trust, leaving both acutely aware of the significance of their shared vigilance and the quiet power of human connection that had emerged in the fragile, intense hours of care.